Hey there, this is Pastor Tabitha Purple. We are doing your daily devotionals. We are at day 24 of our Corona devotional diaries, thing. Today we are looking at a tricky subject. It's taken from the book of Matthew. It's a subject that we love, but we also equally can say is abused, especially in a Christian context. So let's see if we can do this some justice today. Matthew chapter 18 verse 21 and 22. So that's Matthew chapter 18 verse 21 and 22. Then Peter approached him and asked, Lord, how many times shall I forgive my brother or sister who sins against me? As many as 7 times? I tell you, not as many as 7, Jesus replied, but 70 times 7. So let's just take a deep breath. Let's just put aside all of our immediate reactions to this verse. Let's put aside all those things that immediately make us back go up, that we get really angry about, or that we're really like we're going to punch the point home to somebody. And let's just breathe in the words of Jesus and the words of Peter. Peter comes because he's frustrated and he wants to get an answer to his question. Somebody's upset him. And he's like, how many times do I have to forgive this person? I mean, they just keep doing the same thing. Do I really have to be nice to them? Is that really what you're saying, Jesus? Jesus, come on. Surely 1, 2, 3, 7 is a perfect number. I don't have to be nicer to them than 7 times. If I'm 7 times nice to you, then surely that's enough. And Jesus cuts in. He's like, 7? Oh, that's interesting that you would pick 7. But I'm going to tell you it's 70 times 7. Now, for a lot of people, they immediately did their mathematics because, of course, we are drilled with our times tables. And they went, oh, I know that number too. I can count. I can keep count of how many times you've upset me. Maybe we're approaching the incident incorrectly. Have you ever considered that? If you are keeping score of how many times somebody has upset you, maybe you are not doing this whole thing correctly in the first place. If what you're actually doing is every time somebody irritates you, you're going, oh, that was the second. You see, that's the second time they did that. So that's the second time. The second time they did that. The second time. But they won't do it a third time. Tell you they won't do it a third time. Not to me. Oh, look, it was 3. 3 times. You see, this is how they do. You see how rude they are? You see? And we do this, don't we? If we're honest, everyone has done this at some point in their life. But then what we do is we take that attitude and we apply it in places that it doesn't belong. And so what we then say is to the abuse victim, we say, but you must forgive 70 times 7. I'm sure that you can do that. That's not really the attitude with which Jesus is talking about, is he now? That's not what is being spoken about here. What's actually being challenged is Peter. Peter's understanding of forgiveness is being challenged. For Peter, he just wants to be able to tick it off. I've done the thing. That's what he's coming with. Listen, this person's upset me. This is about the 7th time they've done it. 7 is a number of perfection. I'm sure we know how to do this no more. Jesus is not talking about abuse, because when he talks about abuse, he says something very different. He doesn't expect you to stay in abuse situations. That's not what he's doing. So when people come with you that we're supposed to be forgiven and stay and take abuse, you have to rebuke them and say, no, that is not the way of the Lord. And you just walk away. So that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the attitude with which people come at other people. If you are going to build loving relationships, one of the things you cannot do is keep score. You just keeping score is not going to help you. Now let's just take one example of a loving relationship. Oh, I don't know, husband and wife. Let's do that one. If husbands and wife kept score, how quickly do you think they're going to get divorced? I don't know. Give them a year, 2 years. The divorce rates keep going down, don't they? See, the number keeps lowering at the kind of average number to get divorced. You get married and you stay married for about, 7 years before somebody's like, no, I've counted enough. And maybe it's the attitude with which we come at it. Again, if you were thinking about a relationship, say parenting, If you are keeping score about what your child was doing wrong to irritate you, or your child is keeping score against you, how long is it before your relationship has broken down and you no longer have a relationship? You see, what Peter was coming with is, surely when people annoy me, I don't need to have a relationship with them anymore. That's what it means when he's like, Lord, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Surely that's enough. And Jesus' answer knocks it on the head. It says, hey, 70 times 7. If you're going to count, then let's count. Let's see you track up to 300 and something. Let's see you do it. You can do it, I'm sure. I believe in you, Peter. You can keep score, because that's really what you're doing, keeping score. God doesn't want you to keep score. This is not a competition about who's more irritating or who's not more irritating. Because, let's all be honest, we can all be irritating. We can all do things that are wrong. We can all do things that cause someone else to keep score. So here's a tip. When we look at this verse, this very difficult verse, let's just put aside all of those things in which we should not encourage people to continue. Abusive situations, abuse in the home of any description, abuse in a marriage, abuse of a child. Those are not things that God condones. So let's put all of that aside. This is not what this text is talking about. And now let's come at it with an attitude of, well, what is it talking about? Building relationships. What is detrimental to building relationships? I know. If you do something wrong, instead of having the attitude to come to you and talk to you and have a conversation and build a relationship, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to keep track of all the things you've done wrong and I'm going to get you. I'm going to get you. That's not going to build a happy relationship. Not between friends, not between colleagues, not between children, not between husbands and wives. It's not going to help. So what you need to do is come with a different attitude. What attitude is God prescribing in the scripture? Well, it may be slightly different than you imagined. Love your neighbour. I'm just saying. Blessings. Enjoy the devotional. I really hope it's something for you to ponder. Have a good day.